Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2014 neo-noir action thriller titled John Wick. Now, John Wick runs for an hour and 41 minutes long. It is directed by Chad Stahelski and an uncredited directorial accolade to David Leitch. It is produced by Basil Iwaniak, David Leitch, Eva Longoria, and Michael Witherhill. The script was done by Derek Kolstad. The score was done by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richards. The cinematography by Jonathan Sulla, and the editing was done by Elizabeth Ronalds. And the stars of this movie are Keanu Reeves, Michael Nyqvist, Alfie Allen, Adrienne Palicki, Bridget Moynahan, Dean Winters, Ian McShane, John Leguizamo, and Willem Dafoe. Now, even though Hollywood gets badly ostracized by the masses, which also includes me, there actually comes a time when every now and then it brings a surprisingly great film, and John Wick clearly personifies that Hollywood does not always turn into money-wasting movies. John Wick combines great solid action with awesome visuals, subtle humor, and provides something quite refreshing to the traditional action film. When first seeing this film, I actually did have my doubts about it because of the formulaic stereotypes it has on the genre, but it doesn't actually bother me at all because I was enthralled by the visuals. And then I looked at who the scriptwriter is, and I sighed because it was written by Derek Kolstad, who has been writing convoluted scripts straight for DVD vehicles for Dolph Lundgren. And finally, I checked in to see who directed, and it was by Chad Stahelski, a former stuntman who has had some assistance from another former stuntman, David Leitch. But whatever it was that they did, it worked, and I give my hats off to them, if I had a hat on, for their efforts to bring something new to the table. Sure, from the opening scenes, the cliches come right to us without any denial. Keanu Reeves stars as John Wick, who is an ex-hitman trying to get away from it all, like we've seen before. His wife Helen, played by Bridget Moynahan, has helped him break free from his old ways, and now she is dying of a lingering progressive disease. In return, she has left him an adorable little puppy so that he can remain the better man that he has become, as a sign that, that of responsibility, and someone that he could love and cherish once she passes away. But then some evil, remorseless Russian gangsters steal his car and kill his puppy, and feeling that it was all just in a day's work. What was dumb about these gangsters is that they refused to do background checks as to which assassin they were dealing with. For the animal-sensitive viewer, the puppy's death scene is not entirely graphic, but it will make you hate the bad guys even more, like what's expected of a film of this magnitude. What makes matters worse is that the car is a 1969 Mustang, so therefore revenge is not optional here. It must be done, bar none. So even though he's been called down by his critics, Keanu Reeves stars here, and he has succeeded in shutting up all those who have condemned him in the past. He was just simply amazing here, and may have even exceeded his performances in the Matrix films. To me, it feels like a new awakening for Keanu. At 51, he is now making those who maligned him to eat crow, to be put in a better word. But what could I say? 50 is truly the new 40, and he never looked better. Sure, I know he seems to come across as sort of still having that stoic, stone-faced personality like he does in a lot of his movies, but in this movie, it actually does work to great effect. This guy is ruthless to the bone. He shows no remorse or sympathy for the lives that have been lost. He is a mean, lean killing machine. And he does kill his bad guys in point blank, and he does it in such great poise and in great effect. This is actually a movie to me that really, really resurrected the action genre. I mean, there is no like subplots that seem to outweigh the action scenes. There's no stories, backstories about issues or stuff like that. No. This is a straight down knock 'em, sock 'em action film. And if many people will believe that this movie lacked in character development, well then the only thing I gotta say is to hell with you guys who want to think otherwise. Because this movie does not take any kind of pity, remorse, or anything like that. Sure, okay, maybe it might lack in character development. But what makes up for the lack of character development is the action, the excitement, the thrills of just wanting to escape the normal doldrums of your life and to come to the theater to watch nothing but action. If you are an action enthusiast and doesn't want to sit through any kind of bullshit sub-stories or stuff dealing with issues and whatnot, the only issue that this guy has is, getting avenged for them stealing his car and killing his puppy. And sure, and wouldn't that be a good enough reason to go out on the prowl and to kill bad guys? I mean, sure, the guy was trying to get away from it all, but unfortunately, like in a lot of action films, this is cliched, which is probably one of the biggest weaknesses in this movie. He isn't just gonna sit there and let them run his life. No. Like in a lot of action films, the action protagonist believes in the old eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth type of vengeance, and he's gonna do it. And if you're too squeamish or too sensitive about the excessive violence in this movie, well then, you're in the wrong theaters, my friends. Because you're not going to get remorse. You're not going to get sympathy. You're not going to get a side-splitting story that might appease to the sensitive viewers. No, this is flat-out fucking action. And that's really all I have to say. It's not for the squeamish. If you think you could bring your child to see this movie, well, you're more fucked in the head than John Wick is. I would not. This is an R-rated movie, folks. You're not gonna bring your kid to see this movie. You're not gonna bring your kids to see this movie. This is an adult-themed movie. And the reason why it's rated R is because it's not suitable for the age demographics 18 or younger. This is for adults. So, parents at home, I strongly suggest one stays home and watches the kid, and tuck them in bed, and one night you go see the movie, then the next night the other parent should tuck their kids in bed and go see the movie the day after. I would not recommend your kids to see this movie. This is not for the weak of heart. There's going to be a lot of violence. There is a massive blood count in this movie. Don't be foolish. Don't be foolish. I've warned you. Don't. That's all I gotta say. What really blew my mind really about John Wick are the action scenes, and they are truly mesmerizing. The way they execute it on screen was original, being that it was subtle and it did not fall for any campy or cartoon-like violence. The choreography was spot on, and the fight scenes looked and felt authentic and convincingly deadly. I mean, even I winced a few times at some of the violence that was used in this movie. The brutality and the violence will truly get your heart pumping, and even just by thinking about it, it hurts quite painfully. Just thinking about it. The fight scenes, they offer up new elements, and it was quite inventive in its delivery. But the cinematography is something about John Wick that cannot be neglected. The colors of gray and brown offer a retro feeling reminiscent to the 1950s noir film with a more modern twist to it. Set in New York City as a picturesque fantasy landscape that your grandparents in the 1950s may have imagined what the Big Apple would look like today, which even includes a ritzy hotel like the Continental, which is a facility for refuge, like a social club, a relaxing center for these criminal gangsters. I mean, that's kind of better than I expected for an underworld crime bosses. To me, my image of locality where criminal bosses seem to hang around would be kind of like dilapidated apartments where they're gambling their fortunes with their beer mugs and their ashtrays. Therefore, a place like the Continental looks like a better hangout spot for these guys. It has a bit of kind of like a Sin City thing going for it, only more grounded and perhaps maybe even more real. And, with a sequel that's going to be coming out, I'll surely be the first at my ticket stand. So John Wick truly has kind of, in my opinion, resurrected the action genre. It's brutal, it's violent, and no-holds-barred, gritty R-rated film that's not afraid to deliver or offend. Sure, it may have its share of cliches, but once you've seen the movie, you'll forget about the cliches and just go see the movie for what it is. It takes no punches, it takes no apologies, and whatever it delivers is delivered without a single ounce of hypocrisy. Nothing but pure sincerity for as far as the eye can see. If I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would definitely give it a 9. The only point it has back is the cliche part. But other than that, this movie is definitely a movie that brought back what the real purpose of what an action movie is about. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you'd like to write in a comment, please feel free to do so. You want to subscribe to my channel, go right ahead. But remember, be kind, be courteous, don't be rude, and I will be back again with another writer review, and I'll try to hold off on the swearing. But then again, hey, if I want to. Just kidding. So until next time, this is Eric Correct Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.